Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So back on, I'm going to attempt to try to get another field plowed that is up for auction. It is 33 up here in the opposite corner from 17. But what I'm unsure about is the ground frozen? It doesn't have any indicator like it used to in 19. And once again, since I've got so little experience playing FS22 in the winter, I just need to go take a look and see. Server's about an hour behind, so I'm waiting until it gets to about 5, and then I will sync it up. So we do have that benefit of now that I have a house, I can sleep in sync. But at this point, I'd only be able to gain back about half an hour, so I'm going to wait and then try it at 5 a.m. So not much to pass along today. Obviously plowing is plowing, but I will give you a look around once I get up there, just so you can kind of see what the terrain looks like in that area. Okay, I'm at the edge of field 4 here. Good news is it does look like it's just brush, or like a bog of some sort. It's kind of mud rather than anything else that then appears along with this field. So yeah, there's stubble in the field. I did double check before I came all the way up here that in fact it wasn't one of the fields that didn't need plowing. It is not. So we're in the little arm here. And I kind of went that way because I knew 4 had been plowed, or was indicated as plowed, so that I'd be able to drive over it. Because I did just notice as I was trying to figure out the road network, there doesn't appear to be a good way to get over there, honestly. There's no roads down here that head over. It almost seemed like you'd need to come south here, come over, and then head all the way up to stay on roads. So that is definitely an issue for the fields over there, trying to get anywhere from the fields on the east side of the map. Alright, so here's the big test. You see if it's going to let me plow. It looks like it is. Alright. So, we'll take a quick peek as we go, but as you can tell, it is pretty flat over here. Unlike where I'm near the river and I have a little bit of whoops, so I didn't realize it got stuck there. I have a little bit of elevation change because of that over here, and probably also why we have this stagnant mud bog. Then it's flat, and so the water just kind of sits around. So I'm pretty sure that, hold on, I'm stuck again, and I'm probably now going to fly ahead. Alright, not too bad. So yeah, running the headlands is always fun. Again, I guess the benefit here is there's no trees, so you're not going to get hung up on a tree trunk. This is all just brush, so I suppose a possibility if you worked up in this area is to try to reclaim that space and kind of make the field. I was going to say rectangularize it. I don't know if that's a word. I suppose just like any word, we'll go ahead and use it until someone tells me I'm using crazy words. I guess that makes sense, because that's the word that comes to mind. I just don't know that it's a real word. But I need to just get this done, and then it'll be ready for the auction. Now the challenge is, this is one that definitely no one is bidding on. It actually was one, for whatever reason, that I hadn't noticed till yesterday, and I knew I needed to spend time building my farmyard. But now that I'm done, I have the time to do it. But this is really coming due, well, given that we're an hour behind in real time, it's basically coming off auction in 15 minutes. But even if that's the case, like I said, it gets this field ready so that if and when someone does buy this, I don't have to return to it, because it will obviously stay in the plowed state. And it gets me to, learn the stuff I've learned this morning, that there isn't a road here to get to any other way. I will likely go ahead, depending on what the situation is like later in the day when I finish this, maybe go ahead and try to find a way around with the roads to just verify the fact that if you were to own this field, you'd basically have to cross the map twice just to get to it, to get to and from town, because you'd have to go all the way north-south, and then, well, technically cross the map even more than twice, because then you have to move over east-west a bit, and then you finally get to go north-south again, the entire length of the map. So you'd be spending a lot of time traveling, which I'm thinking is also part of the reason nobody is taking this from an auction perspective, because for all intents and purposes, this is likely the farthest field from anything on the map. So I don't know that it would be incredibly pleasant, and geography-wise, at least for me, there's nothing that draws me to it. Here at the edge of the map, which, like most map edges, is not terribly exciting to look at. The good news is it doesn't drop off into oblivion. It's almost different. The other side, now that I look at it, is the border seems to be hovering above the elevation of the map, so it's almost like you could kind of tuck under the border and then fall off the planet into a pit that never ends, maybe. I'm not sure. Not sure how that goes, but that's kind of what it looks like. I didn't mean to turn off my lights. I'm trying to get my GPS going, and I hit the F key, which is next to the keys that I am trying to press. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead now that I have a GPS line and go ahead and work that. You've now seen me go a good way around. I guess there is a bit of an elevation change here, so it does look like going north to south. We might have a little bit dropping down. Could also be because, like, we don't know what's truly off the edge of the map, and since this map uses DEM data, it may be coming up on something, although it's not as if that was like a substantial elevation change. But there's these little drops. Let's see, the river, I mean, it is kind of way down here, so yeah, I don't think we're getting the impacts of that. It also looks like I may miss a little edge of the field here that I'll have to touch up, but anyway, that's what we've got. That's the work I'm doing. definitely you can see that the field next door is the one with wheat. So I'm going to get this done today, and I'll just see at the end, let you know how things went. No, I'm not done already, but I just wanted you to see 60 rows for GPS across the field with this implement. So that gives you some idea if you're going to work on this field at some point on this map. That's how wide this field is. So when you have lag and you try to stop the tractor and it doesn't work, and then you try to get it back. So I don't have the ability to reset this tractor, so I'm gonna have to submit a ticket. Oh, I love sometimes when servers do stuff like this. Alright, so I'm back on here tonight. Same day. Although this is a different tractor than we had, but hey, why not? I'll drive whatever they give us. But yeah, they had some blue one before, but this is a Case Steiger. But so yeah, it was a super fast response. So thanks to Laz and Phoenix, and I think anybody else that may have touched the ticket that I'm not aware of or I'm forgetting to mention. But I know I had popped back on in the afternoon because one of the other FMs at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon said they were in the server, they had gotten booted out, and then they were having difficulty getting back in. I happened to be able to log in. We happen to have a day off today, so that was a nice added bonus, and had been planning to take advantage of it with plowing the field, but obviously we see how well that had happened in the morning. But I was thinking, just per the nature of things, how long they typically take because of the number of tickets we get in FSN, I really didn't think there'd be any hope of getting back on today. So when I had gotten in to verify that I could get into the server and let the farm manager know so that he could potentially get back in if he wanted to, I happened to go look for the tractor, and it had floated further away from the edge of the map, so the feedback from Laz when he got on was couldn't find the tractor and the plow, so he just sold them and then bought equipment. So that's what we've got here, and we can tell that because it's purple. I'm not purple. I'm not on a purple farm, so because that's the FSN farm. But anyway, I think the plow's the same. It's just the tractor is different. But this also is a faster tractor. The other thing that I was able to determine, and unfortunately I think sadly may have partially contributed to the demise of the tractor and the plow, was that if I'm having my machine do other things being related to what we've got going on here, which is either processing a video or, in the case, and I think it's more uploading the video to YouTube because it's using internet bandwidth to do that. When I fired that up compared to when I was plowing before, my lag time increased substantially. So I think it has more to do with that than other things on the server itself. And I just don't know that I had been paying attention to that when I was doing the, taking a look at the issues the couple times I think I was doing work and there was some crazy stuff going on with lag. I may have been uploading a video in the background while I was continuing to play, because that's a way that I can kind of maximize time is I can go ahead and kind of do the editing and then go ahead and send it up, and then while I'm playing in the game and so forth, I can be having the machine do other things, but I gotta be careful when I'm here at the edge. So this is the site of the crime. This is where we had fallen off, and basically what you would have seen if I had the video running to show you, because I basically didn't turn it on till after I had tried to save things, and at that point I had detached the tractor and it had started floating away. But the plow was basically on the ground and I was hanging down below the map vertically, so like at an L, and then I was trying to reverse, it wouldn't go up. And so a lot of times when you get stuck, and it's without having EV in here where we can do differential lock, we have less traction options than we did in FS19. Again, that may be something they eventually put back in, but it's not something we have right now. And so I was trying to reverse, I could see the tracks kind of trying to move, but nothing was happening. So then typically, let's say I ran into the stream and got stuck somehow, that I couldn't just pull out or whatever. What I would normally have done then is, if you detach the implement from what it's attached to, you then, and I'm trying to be really careful here at the edge, because the last thing I want to do is have another incident and have this thing run away. Now again, I'm not running on cruise control, but still, if lag suddenly hops in, and I'm not doing anything in the background on my machine. So that's partially why I'm on so late, is I waited intentionally, whoops, until everything I was doing was done, and then and then got on. So that's why I'm on as late as I am. Otherwise I could have done it probably a little bit in the evening, but my machine was still sending videos up so that you guys could take a look at the video that will be in front of this one, which will be my farm build, which is super exciting. I certainly enjoyed the fact that I got to do that. Alright, my force feedback is doing some crazy stuff here. Not quite sure why. Because it's not like I'm locked in, but it's almost like it's lost its ability to be centered. So I may have to take a minute and reset some stuff, which again I'll do off camera, but I'll see what happens once I get to the end. I'll play with that a little bit, because at this point, like, my wheel's straight now, but clearly I'm not going straight. So sometimes that just involves me turning the wheel all the way and then it kind of resets, but I can't do that while I'm driving forward or I have a problem. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to give myself enough passes, and I'm going to actually do 2 more because I really want to be extreme to some degree, so that as I go and run the way I was running, which is north-south all the way and so forth, so if you're hearing all that noise, that's me wrestling with the wheel, making sure it goes to the far extremes. But, because yeah, I'm getting a little bit of lag here, but again, I'm not getting into the red. I saw I was in the yellow. Is it? Yeah, it's still down. So what I don't want to do is then have what happened before, because I only had 1 headland pass, so I was just starting to try to turn, and then the lag hit just before I got there, and then by the time, I took my foot off the gas immediately, but it still had progressed enough that when it finally came back, I was dangling off the map. So to avoid that, this will basically give me 5 passes, because I'm going to come back one more time this way, and then that should give me a good distance from the edge of the map. And obviously if I somehow get some lag, I'm going to basically also throw the thing into reverse, because at least if it takes some sort of input, hopefully it'll take that, and then it won't fall off the map. It'll just go backwards, and I have a lot more room for it to go backwards than I do for it to go forwards. But obviously, especially in parts of the field here, I mean, here we have, as you can see on the mini-map, a little bit of leeway, but on the north end to the left of me, and also here, but you can see the field tapers up to the edge, and that can turn into a problem pretty quickly. So and as you can see, slightly off the mini-map, but now when we're heading back, you'll be able to tell we're right at the edge, and I think that's where I fell off. So that there really was no room for separation at that point, and that obviously caused a problem. So my goal is certainly not to suddenly give them another ticket, but we also don't have fields that are always in the corner of the map, and so the difference obviously with 17 that we did a few days ago was, there was a road, there were trees, there were other things. I mean, we weren't anywhere near the edge of the map, where this is, obviously, there's no obstruction here. But yeah, if I look at that, I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, it's really kind of this point here that is the thinnest margin, but it's right there is really the key to it. So I think for this segment, because normally what I had done is I had just gone north-south so that I had the rows. But I think at this point, to finish this little inlet, I am gonna keep running this one back and forth, because it makes no sense to keep trying to turn around, and especially at this point it's pretty thin. So I think it'll be faster, because this is probably, at least down at this end, I can probably do this in 2 passes, at most 3. If I'm really careful, I can make sure it's 2. I mean, here it definitely will be, but I don't want to miss things on the north end, and at some point here it turns up. And it is before I kind of get to the point where I would start heading north-south. Because basically, again, where I would head north-south is where I came up from the south here. So I need to basically get this all plowed out, and then I'll start going where I was and go through that little bit over there to do that. So, alright. Let me get this GPS set up so that later, when I need it, I'm in good shape. It made me go straight a little bit. I wanted to make sure I didn't suddenly turn, because then obviously the track would be created at an angle I didn't want it. But this gets a good portion of this done, and so I don't recall if at the row I was at that we were dealing with, that we were halfway across the field, or if that was earlier. I think it might be where we were at, but we might have been at like 25 rows. So, oops. So So coming up on it in the dark, obviously I missed it. I don't want to have to come this way more than I need to. So let me get lined up and get this wrapped up. And then once again we'll have just a few kind of interesting passes to still get this done. And then we'll go from there. I'm going to actually come at it from this direction, because at this point I think this is the longer edge. I think if I was going the way I was going, east-west, I would have a bit more passes to do, because obviously this goes down a bit. Good news is the wheel seems to be in a better light right now, where I'm positioned appropriately. It looks like I'm not quite gonna make it. It's a little wider than the plow, so I gotta do one more here. But we've got a good hunk of this done. So I'm gonna basically show you the start of the up-down, where I'm at. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you the map. I also need to make sure this is aligned, because yeah, as you can see, and I'm not at all surprised, I need to be like more over here. I need to get this moved over so that it's a little bit more in the right place. So I think that will do it. Again, I love my dots. Not the candy, but the GPS dots. And of course, the GPS is doing its I don't want to cooperate thing, so it locked and wouldn't let me turn on the cruise. But while I get this moving, if we now take a look over here, you can see, we've got those passes we just did, but this was all that had been finished before I fell off into the ether, and basically my tractor was like here. So depending, if they just kind of looked at the map and kind of did the zoom out and do this, like it would have been not visible, because why would you think to go look for a piece of equipment somewhere that isn't on the map? Because that normally doesn't happen. It just gets stuck, and it might be hanging right off the edge, but the plow was still there, so I'm surprised the dot wasn't visible there. But once again, maybe he was thinking something happened, on 33, and either way, it worked. We're going. So I've had you enough. I'm going to go back to my original plan, which is to stay on the map, not fall off the map. I'm adding that to my plan. But to kind of get this done, and then be back for you for the wrap up, and that'll be it for this episode. So I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so we've got the last pass on the field here. We are heading up to the corner, but I think I'll be okay as far as not falling off the map. I've made it. And yes, very little lag, so perhaps, which would be great, maybe I've found a little bit of my problem is it's things that are happening on my machine, which honestly, as I think about it, I don't know why I haven't thought of this before, but if I'm recording a video and then I'm either uploading a video or processing a video, the access to the disk space is the same. So, yeah, just might be a breakthrough that might be useful. So, one of the things I had talked about was maybe trying to go ahead and just go down the road and see what I can learn about actually getting back, and make sure that this really is what I think it is, where there's not a road over to, I guess, what would amount to be the west of the map without going the way I have. So have to see how that all works, and see what we find. But the good news is, we got this done. Now, I hadn't gotten out on this field. Let me just take a quick look. Alright, yeah, that makes sense. So it's a 78 acre, basically a 79 acre field, where, the other fields are like 122 or whatever. So that would take a little while, because it did seem that, not that this was super fast, I still think it was 2.5, 3 hours of plowing, but it seemed faster than 17. And I knew it would be a little bit, because obviously we've got a lot more space that's not part of the field in this field than we did on the other one. But sorry, I thought I had hit the cruise and obviously had not. So, if nothing else, this path will give us a little bit of a view of what we've got around here. It is coming up on midnight, so not a super dark night, which is somewhat typical. So I know this is some sort of a delivery point. This is the animal dealer, if I remember correctly. So if we were to get animals and we're picking them up, this is where we'll go. So they've got that field of static cows. I've driven around there on a map tour, so they don't actually move. They're not obviously a herd of cows, and so you can see, well, I guess you can't really see, I'm not close enough to the sign, that there would be a note there of, or name there of animal dealer. But so yeah, so far literally no road has appeared to take us over. So it does appear this is accurate, but therefore if you're not cutting through the boundaries on the fields, that's a little bit challenging for certain. So from a distance standpoint, this was one thing I hadn't taken a look at, partially because I wasn't considering the fields over here too strongly, and I knew what the road network was like by me, and even by me I have to go around a bit. But once again, I'm taking a bit of a, of trust with Camel's creation here, that he's duplicated what is there. So yeah, this road I think just goes, yeah, because, well, okay, so this actually is a bit of a middle cut. I do remember this road because I have taken it before. So you can see there, that's Fire's setup. So he has that location there. And we were there on our Nosy Neighbor episode a few episodes ago. So if you want that view, you can go back and take a look and see what his farm setup actually is. But just to give you perspective, though, of where we are on the map. So you can see we're going between field 2 and some other field that shall not be named right now because I don't know what it is. But both of these fields, again, if they come up for sale, I think this is actually field 1, the tail end of it that comes down, which is the massive field on this map. So if I wanted to really go crazy, that could have been a field I went with. It's $4 million some dollars. I mean, I technically had the money, but I certainly didn't have the time to work it. And then the other issue is, like all of these other fields that all these other FMs are fighting with, is it's a little bit more of a challenge to find somewhere to really place your yard without impacting the field. Now, I suppose you could make the argument, if I've got 150 or 200, or in this case a 300 acre, I think, field, if you take 10 or 20 acres out for your yard, is that really impacting you that much? So it's a valid point. But with the options we had, I had an option where I didn't need to do that, but you can see this field certainly, A, it's massive, but B, it's got very little border, and then the border it does have, you still would be removing trees to give yourself some space, and then you've got the issue of not getting within 5 meters of the road, which means you're not putting anything of any size on there. But you can see we are now coming up on the FSN custom silo spot, which is where we are headed with this equipment. We might actually pull into the yard before midnight, but by the time we fuel up and repair and clean up, we're going to pass that time. It's going to take us more than a minute, and obviously there we go. So it is now February. So I've never been on an FS22 server while it's changing, and it looks like maybe it's similar, where it was giving me some hiccups and walking. So, it may be updating parts of the map, kind of like we had on FS19, as crops change over and grow. So, the difference here is we obviously aren't going to be repairing or replacing the fuel from the entire field, because that's just not the situation we have. So I'm going to go ahead and go this way, and then we can kind of pull around from the grass and go there. So let me start filling the fuel, and then go to the repair point here. Where is it? Am I on top of it? I probably am. Right. Best laid plans, best laid plans. That's kind of the way it always works, right? There we go. So the question is, am I in here enough that I'm going to get the ability to repair both? I am. So 238 and 475. Again, they're coming out of the FSN funds, since this was work for the community and my role as mayor. I don't have to use my equipment to do this. I get to use the FSN equipment. I thought we had a truck with a plow, but maybe we don't. So maybe the process here to plow snow is using those things. Alright. So we are all set. Hope you've had some fun. I guess, in hindsight it was fun seeing what happens when you fall off the map, but no, it was really frustrating because I would have rather gotten all that done earlier. But I will see you next time.